I never thought I'd be one of those people with a creepy, unexplainable story. But here I am sharing the experience that still haunts me every time the clock strikes midnight. It all started when I moved into this small, cheap apartment downtown. It wasn't anything fancy, a one-bedroom place with creaky floors and outdated appliances, but it was affordable, and for a single guy like me, it did the job. The neighborhood was quiet, which I liked, though it did have this strange, eerie vibe at night. Not something I could put my finger on at first, but you know that gut feeling you get when something's just off. Anyway, it was my second night there when the weirdness began. It was around 11:55 p.m. I was on the couch, binge watching some random Netflix series when my phone rang. The caller ID showed an unknown number. I don't usually answer those, but for some reason, maybe curiosity, I picked up. No one spoke at first. I could just hear faint breathing. It wasn't heavy or creepy breathing, just someone was there, but they didn't say anything. After a few seconds, I said hello, thinking it was a prank or maybe a wrong number. Then in this flat monotone voice, they said, "It's almost midnight," and the call ended. No explanation, nothing. Just "it's almost midnight." Weird, right? But I shrugged it off. Maybe it was just a wrong number or some bored teenager messing around. So I went back to my show trying to forget about it. The next night, at exactly the same time, 11:55 p.m. the phone rang again. Unknown number, same thing. I answered, and again, all I heard was breathing. This time I didn't say anything. After about 10 seconds, the voice came back. Then click. The call ended. Now I was starting to get a little freaked out. What were the odds of getting 2 random calls at the same exact time with the same exact message? But again, I didn't want to jump to conclusions. Maybe it was just a coincidence or some weird automated prank call thing going around. But then the third night came, 11:55 p.m., and my phone rang. This time I didn't pick it up. I just stared at the screen, watching it vibrate on the coffee table, the words "unknown number" glaring back at me. The ringing stopped after a few seconds, but almost immediately after, my landline, yes, I had a landline, started ringing. At this point, I was beyond freaked out. I didn't even remember giving anyone the landline number, but there it was, ringing away. Against my better judgment, I answered. Silence, then breathing, and then that same voice. "It's almost midnight." This time I yelled into the phone, "Who the hell are you? What do you want?" There was no answer, just that breathing, and then the line went dead. I barely slept that night, constantly checking my phone and the clock, waiting for something else to happen. But nothing did. Not that night anyway. The next day I went to the phone company and tried to figure out where the calls were coming from, but they said they couldn't trace it. Of course, right? But they did offer to change my number, which I immediately agreed to. That night, I was a mess. I sat in my living room, staring at the clock, waiting for 11:55 p.m. to roll around. I told myself I wouldn't answer the phone if it rang again. But 11:55 came and went. No call. For the first time in days, I felt a sense of relief. Maybe it was over. Maybe changing my number had worked. Then midnight hit, and the knocking started. It was slow at first, just a gentle tap at my front door. My apartment was on the second floor, so it couldn't have been a random passerby. My heart started racing. I tried to ignore it, but the knocking got louder, more insistent. Someone was definitely out there. I grabbed the nearest thing I could find, a baseball bat, and tiptoed to the door. My hand hovered over the doorknob. The knocking stopped. I stood there, heart pounding in my chest, waiting. And then, from the other side of the door, I heard it. It's midnight. I yanked the door open, bat in hand, ready to swing, but no one was there. The hallway was empty, just the flickering of the old fluorescent light overhead. I shut the door, locked every possible lock, and didn't sleep at all that night. The calls stopped after that, the knocking too, but every night just before midnight I still get that sinking feeling. That sense that something or someone is just waiting, watching. I've never told anyone about this. Not until now anyway, but if you ever get a call at 11:55 p.m., my advice, don't answer it.